Hey everyone, welcome to your Module 6 assignment. This one is going to be looking at the recommendations that you made in Module 5, like, the solution that you recommended, what the benefits and disadvantages are of that solution, what its potential impact is, and why you support it. So this is another assignment that doesn't have a template. You're just creating a document. However, you can use the template in my instructor example. So if we just kind of look at, the overall directions, the first part is talking about both the benefits and the disadvantages of your recommended solution for Module 5. What would be the impact of your recommended solution? I honestly, and it says on a specific community or on society. Honestly, I would pick your community because that's what you know the best, and that will also help you with question number 3. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. So if you look at my instructor example, I just kind of broke it down into sections. So I talked about the benefits, then I talked about the disadvantages and the impacts, and then why I support the recommendations. So if you have been kind of following along as I've been doing these, my topic was fracking, and in Module 5, I recommended that we invest in renewable resources over utilizing fracking wells. And so I list a couple of benefits that are present from going to renewable energy. So, there's little to no greenhouse gas emissions. There's less, air and water pollution. And, we can kind of run out of like fracking materials, and renewables are infinite. So then the disadvantages, so you can see, right, like this is like a good paragraph. Now the disadvantages are the things that, right, like you have to consider, okay, well, what would the problems of renewable energy be? So I put in there, hey, it costs a lot up front, whereas like fracking has already been done and it's not as expensive. Renewables are weather dependent. We don't have like large scale storage solutions, so renewable energy may not always provide consistent energy output. So like for instance, like in Texas, their wind farms kind of failed them whenever there was like an ice storm in 2019, right? And so that created like a really big problem where people didn't have heat during this historic event. So then as far as like the impact, this is where I recommend you talk about what would the impact of your solution be in the place that you live at. Now, it doesn't have to be like your town. It could be like your state. So I specifically in this section talk about the energy sources, like renewable energy in my community of Colorado, which is where I live. And I just talk about, the different impacts that it can have. So, what are the benefits to certain communities? Colorado, we have a lot of drought, and we also have a lot of wildfires that are kind of fueled by, climate change, which has been linked to fossil fuel, production and burning of fossil fuels. So I just kind of talk about, if we didn't have that, what would happen. And then I also talk about, kind of the economic impacts. So those are just things to consider, when you're talking about impacts, like really think about, okay, how would this impact my community if they were to implement the solution that you propose for your STEM issue. And then the last part, though, why I support the recommendation. This is why I say that talking about your community can really help you in this particular area, because I talked about how, I have seen, like with my own eyes, I'm a primary source, right? The destruction that has been caused by fracking wells in my community. And so I kind of go in and talk about, the things that I have seen. So that's why I support the recommendation, right? Like I have a dog in the fight, basically. So that is just, kind of a real brief overview. Again, you want to make sure you have several benefits, you have several disadvantages. What are the impacts? You don't just want to say it's going to be great, right? So just something to keep in mind. Let me know if you have any questions or you need any resources.